What's going on?
You support Hamas, do you not?
Senator, oddly enough, I'm going to say thank you for that question because it demonstrates the purpose of our hearing today in a very effective way.
Let's start first with a yes or no.
Hamas is a foreign terrorist organization that I do not support, but you asking the executive director of the Arab American Institute that question very much puts the focus on the issue of hate in our country.
Well, I got your answer, and I appreciate it. What is the, you support Hezbollah too, don't you?
Again, I find this line of questioning extraordinarily disappointing, Senator.
Me when I am questioned by Congress and they ask me these questions. Hamas is a militant organization, and I would never support political violence. Do you support Hezbollah? I would never. Yeah.
No.
That. You have Arab American constituents that you represent in your great state.
Yes, ma'am, I understand that, but my time's limited, and I apologize, but is that a yes or a no?
A yes or no question to do I support Hezbollah? The answer is I don't support violence, whether it's Hezbollah, Hamas, or any other entity that invokes it.
You can't bring yourself to say no, can you?
No, I can say no. I can say yes.
But
what I can say is your line of questioning.
Senator,
it's like he was lined up to do the "you can't admit it" thing that usually works on Republicans because they can never commit to anything. But she did say those things.
Support or oppose Iran and their hatred of Jews?
Again, I'm going to emphasize Iran, Hezbollah, Hamas, none of them is going to,
you can't bring yourself to say no, can
Sir,
you?
I don't support.
It's real simple.
Excuse me, I'm going to, if I may, as a Muslim woman, sir, I'm going to tell you I do not support Iran. But what I will tell you is that this conversation.
I'm running out of time. I'm sorry. You called our decision to cut funding. You called our decision to cut fund. Well, first, what's the United Nations Relief and Works Agency?
It's UNRWA, which is the institution that exists to provide services and aid to the nearly 6 million Palestinian refugees.
And you called our decision to cut funding for them, quote, an incredible moral failure, close quote.
That is absolutely correct. But again, I would suggest that conversation is about foreign policy.
We did that because 9 UNRWA staff members were fired for actually helping Hamas on October 7th. Isn't that the case?
I don't believe that that's correct in terms
of... Let me ask you one more time. You support Hamas, don't you? You support UNRWA and Hamas, don't you?
Sir,
please.
I think it's exceptionally disappointing that you're looking at an Arab American witness before you and saying you support Hamas.
You know what's disappointing to me?
I do not support Hamas.
Bring yourself
I do not support Hamas.
You don't support UNRWA. You don't support Hamas. You don't.
I was very clear in my support for UNRWA.
Hezbollah, and you don't support Iran. You should hide your head in a bag.
Your time has expired.
I think we should get more of this because I think. You know, I think we need to advance the dynamic a little bit. I think we're kind of on the countdown clock right now to J.D. Vance dropping the hard R when being asked follow-up questions by a reporter. I think that we need to, I'm not joking, by the way. I've said this for a long time. I actually think that we need to return to an era with racists being honest about how racist they are. Because after the civil rights movement now, you know, all these motherfuckers want to do is call people the N-word. Reagan called, what was it, diplomats from what country? Monkeys? Like, they're all saying the damn N-word privately amongst themselves. Oh yeah, I saw this. This was crazy, dude. We're on the T-minus.
And Kamala Harris has been chaos all over the world. She can't answer a single question without sounding like a whatever. And she's had this, and Kamala Harris.
I mean, you can be as charitable as you like here.
This has been.
Look at this guy in the background, by the way, who knows what's being said and lights up.
All over the world. She can't answer a single question without sounding like a whatever. And
he's like, yeah, we can say it now. Hell yeah, man. Listen, I can't tell you what J.D. Vance wanted to say. I can tell you what this guy wanted to hear. Does that make sense? Unfortunately, nowadays, like we've the Republican Party is deeply racist. There's no, like, argument to be had about this. But even the Republican Party can't open up and admit to it, right? Like, they're all pretending, you know, Donald Trump and J.D. Vance are out there being like, well, actually, we helped secure the lowest unemployment rate for African Americans in American history or something. We're the, you know, Donald Trump saying he was better for black Americans than Abraham Lincoln. They all have to pretend. And a lot of the times they pretend in such an obviously silly way that it's like a joke. Like, they know it's a joke. Yeah, like Donald Trump having a cavalcade of blacks for Trump follow him, and it's like the same 8 social media black dude, fresh and fit Nazi grifters, plus some white people who are wearing the blacks for Trump t-shirts anyway. You know, race is a social construct. What are you gonna do? Yeah, 8 paid black men and 60 white people. Would it not be simpler if they were just open with it? I don't know. I'm not trying to be edgy. I'm really not. I genuinely feel like there are a lot of stupid Americans who are unaware of how bad it's gotten. I really do think there are a lot of Republicans who are racist but don't know it, and they think that racism is a, you know, problem of the past. Were they this bad in 2008? No, right? Well, when it came to Muslims in 2008, yes, in a very pointed, like, war on terror post 9/11 way. In general, like in the general rhetoric, no, definitely not. And it's worth noting, by the way, there is that famous moment with John McCain, audience lady, Obama Muslim. And people, you've seen this clip before, I assume, but it's worth noting. 2008.
And frankly, we're scared. We're scared of an Obama presidency.
Isn't this an accelerationist argument? Explicit racism getting normalized be bad? No. I'm not saying it should be normalized. Explicit racism is, as far as I'm concerned, already normalized. My argument is that you make yourself an easier target for effectively like counterattack if you're honest about it. I think the lying makes it more difficult to impugn. I'll put it this way, okay? This clip of Kennedy going off on the Arab American lady, people are not watching this to agree with Kennedy, you know? I think that this open out and about racism was to his disservice. It made him look like a geriatric lunatic. And a lot of people are shocked when they see it. I don't think that this is like a victory lap for the right, you know?
First of all, I want to be president of the United States, and obviously I do not want Senator Obama to be. But I have to tell you, he is a decent person and a person that you do not have to be scared as president of the United States. Now, look, if I didn't think I wouldn't be one heck of a lot better president, I wouldn't be running, okay? And that's the point. That's the point.
I got to ask you a question. I do not I can't trust Obama.
Look at the Associated Press logo back then. Is this not the most, like, 4:3 TV ratio, MTV ass Associated Press logo you've ever seen in your life?
I have read about him, and he's an Arab. He is not. No,
ma'am. He's a decent family man, citizen that I just happen to have disagreements with on fundamental issues, and that's what this campaign is all about. He's not. Thanks.
So Republican voters are still just as racist, but now politicians have actually gotten way worse? This might be like a weird one. I think that on average, the median Republican voter might actually be a little bit less racist. The politicians are 50 times as openly racist, and for that reason, they're like stoking and cultivating the worst elements within the voter base, if that makes any sense. Like the politicians have overstepped massively in the other direction. You can hear Bill O'Reilly speaking through her. Yeah, Bill O'Reilly or Glenn Beck or Rush Limbaugh or something speaking directly through this woman. Anyway, let's finish this.
Please, Ms. Berry, I'm going to allow you to respond to any one or all of those questions at this point.
Senator Durbin, thank you very much for holding.
I mean, even back then, McCain did imply being a decent man means not being an Arab. Okay, I'm not saying McCain's a good guy. He's not. I do think that his reaction in that moment was more of a, like, come on, you're being silly on several levels, and I'm going to address this as best as I can. I don't think if you sat McCain down, he would be like, Arabs are worse than non-Arabs or whatever. I think that McCain was like a unique one. I don't know. After Bush ran 2 terms, they wanted somebody who was less divisive, and McCain was about as undivisive as you're getting. I disagree. I don't know. That's fine. That's fine. McCain's dead, man. You know, it's fine. I'm not out here defending his memory. His last act was protecting Obamacare, okay? You want old man Yowie? McCain Obama. That's what I'm pitching to you. All right? Tired. Biden Trump. Wired. McCain Obama. All right?
Holding this hearing and for elevating the issue of hate crime. It's regrettable that as I sit here, have experienced the very issue that we're attempting to deal with today. The introduction of foreign policy is not how we keep Arab Americans or Jewish Americans or Muslim Americans or Black people or Asian Americans, anybody safe. This has been regrettably a real disappointment, but very much an indication of the danger to our democratic institutions that we're in now. And
McCain wanted war with more countries. Is he turning away?
And I deeply regret that, and I do hope that my testimony today has been helpful to understanding the need to respond to hate.
That's crazy, dude. That's crazy. Coward. It's just so cartoonishly evil. She's not even saying it. Like, this isn't even like a giant denunciation of him. No Fed posting. No matter how morally well informed it might be. Unironically a triggered snowflake. Well, he just doesn't respect her at all because she's Muslim. So, yeah. Yes, you're correct. Nice. I wonder how many trillions of dollars they poured into research and development on making the TikTok ending video noise bloop as satisfying as possible, because they really did a good job with that. When you export a TikTok video, they did a good job with that. It's pretty clean. It's pretty clean. Anyway, just to be clear, because I know that a lot of people watch me who aren't, you know, familiar with some of my older arguments. I think that, like, the era of, like, the only way to be bigoted is to dog whistle it. I think that has not worked out well in a lot of respects, because I feel like it's weird, because I don't feel like there's much of a precedent to this, but we're kind of sleepwalking into it's like a Nazi-esque regime where they still have to keep dog whistling, right? Like, when is that mask going to come off? If Trump wins, you know, they're building camps at the southern border to, like, push Mexican Americans or Colombian Americans or whatever, or, you know, undocumented immigrants, whatever. I consider you an American if you've been in America for more than 4 seconds, because I'm a real American and I'm in line with the founding fathers. They're shoving them into, like, concentration camps, which they will have to do to manage the deportation of so many people, the greatest deportation in human history. And they're going to be calling them cockroaches and rats and animals. And at the same time, if they keep with the current messaging, they're going to be doing that. They're going to be fear-mongering like crazy. They're going to be doing all of this. And then Trump is still going to go out there on stage and say he's the greatest president ever for blacks or whatever. They're calling him the greatest black president of all time. You know, that's what they're saying. He's going to run with that while they're building the camps. At what point does the dog whistle stop? Like, at what point do they get honest with it? And my thought right now is never. I genuinely feel like the way the current dynamic is unfolding, they will like fully be like building the gas chambers at the same time as, like, no, we love Hispanic Americans who come here legally because they followed the system properly, you know? We're never going to get open fascism in America because we're so familiar with what open fascism looks like, at least in some respects, that it's like, no, the only way to do this now is fascism that's coded so transparently that it's open fascism to anyone with even a remote political education, but they're always doing it with a wink and a nudge, you know? It's like how every authoritarian nowadays pretends to value democracy. Yeah, these pussies, they can't even just admit that they hate democracy, you know? They always have to pretend that they're like, I don't know. It's really weird. And I do feel like the majority of Republican voters would be really put off if Donald Trump, like, dropped the hard R on stage. I think that the majority, the vast majority of Republican voters are some level of racist, but I don't think they're aware of how racist they are. Most people who are bigoted don't like consciously know they're bigoted, right? Like there are tons of sexist guys, just not like red pill Andrew Tate types, but just regular guys living their life. A lot of them are fine people who just have sexist beliefs. That's a product of their culture. I'm not saying that's not bad. It is bad. I'm just saying that's how bigotry often works. And for a lot of them, they don't think they're sexist at all. And much the same way, I don't think a lot of Republicans think they're racist or sexist or whatever. With transphobia, it might be more difficult because a lot of them have been educated into believing that there's no such thing as transphobia because trans people aren't real or whatever. But let's one step at a time, you know. And I think that if Trump dropped the hard R on stage, a lot of them would be like, whoa. I don't think the median Republican voter would hear Trump drop the hard R on stage and they would go like, yeah, yeehaw, we're doing it now. No more lying, or now we're open with it. I don't think that would be the response to it. I don't think that would be the response to it. So I don't know. Maybe that's a little bit like overly optimistic of me. I still do buy into the belief. And maybe this is like very naive of me. I still don't think that America has the sauce for real totalitarian death camp shit. I still believe that like there are plenty of Republicans who would do it, but not a majority. I think a majority of Republicans are still sociable enough that they would recoil at the real consequences of the policies they support because they're stupid. If that makes any sense. Like, they're all for Trump deporting 20 million, but then they find out that, you know, Alejandro, their coworker who they get beers with after work, he has mixed immigration status, or like he didn't initially come here legally, but he's been working here for 11 years. Oh, whoa, 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 hold on, Gestapo. Alejandro's is like a real one, you know. We've been getting along for ages, you know. He's not like part of the MS-13, you know, Hamas death cult or whatever. You get what I mean. I don't think that degree of interpersonal hatred has festered much. I will say, though, that's what they're trying to do with the Haitians. What they're doing right now with the Haitians is the next step forward. They're doing it specifically to Haitians because that's a sub-community, a smaller one that most Americans don't have a direct personal connection with the way we do with, I don't know, Mexicans. A lot of Americans know Mexicans. That we live right next to Mexico. There's a lot of Mexicans in America. A lot of undocumented immigrants in America from Mexico. I know. First they came for the Haitians, and then they came for the, you know, the Venezuelans, and then I know, I'm aware of that, which is why I believe we should stand firm at every stage of the process. I'm not saying that we should be complacent here. I'm only saying that I don't think that degree of interpersonal dislike has fomented sufficiently for a great many people in this country. This shit isn't even working in Springfield, Ohio. I think that Springfield, Ohio might actually end up being either the catalyst for them or the pushback, the catalyst for the pushback. Because what if, in spite of everything, the community of Springfield, Ohio never rises up against the Haitian population there? What if no pogrom happens despite all of the attempts to instigate one? What if there are no lynchings? What if the Haitians in Springfield, Ohio are just being chillin'? And what if the average resident of Springfield, Ohio, they might be racist, they might be superstitious, they might be conspiratorial, but at the end of the day, they don't have the sauce, either because they don't want to or because they can't. It doesn't happen. Don't you think that's a really positive sign with regards to my point? The idea that, like, even when there's such a concentrated effort to instigate, to, like, they're not just, like, sparking a flint, like, they're trying to torch it with a flamethrower. And even in an environment with that much pressure in it, they still don't buckle. They still don't, like, instigate a pogrom. I think that could be a very positive sign. Not saying all of this is good news or that, you know, Haitians in Springfield have... I've gotten emails from people who live in Springfield, by the way. You know, sounds like a damn nightmare over there. But a lot of the terror is coming from out of town. The death threats, the bomb threats, out of town. The Proud Boys marching, they're from out of town. It's not the people in Springfield, Ohio. Sure, there are racists there. Maybe I'm just being optimistic. Pogrom. Pogrom. P-O-G-R-O-M. Pogrom. Though the Pilgrims did commit some pogroms. That's what I'm saying. Outside agitation will occur whether they want it or not. Yeah, but that difference is massive. Proud Boys, bomb threats, those could happen anywhere. They literally move around. That could happen in like the middle of Washington D.C. and it has. Washington D.C. is the most blue like city in the country, you know? What matters to me is whether the domestic population of Springfield, Ohio can be mobilized with propaganda like this into instigating the pogrom themselves, you know? The terror in Nazi Germany was not that the SS could show up. I mean, that was a big part of it, right? The big terror, and this is a huge like component of totalitarian governments, is the fact that your neighbors were ratting you out to the SS, right? It's not just top down, it's bottom up. And that's often the difference between an authoritarian and totalitarian government. Have they been able to sufficiently weaponize the paranoia of the common people to get like children ratting on parents, you know, teachers ratting on students' parents because they hear the kid repeating terminology that is verboten or whatever. Like that, I'm simplifying here and I recognize that. And I'm certainly not downplaying the SS or whatever, you know. I'm just saying that that is an integral component of what people like J.D. Vance want to happen here. That's what the Nazis want. The Nazis do not want the process of deporting 20 million immigrants in America to be cops going door to door and then having to fight tooth and nail to get every single person out of their homes or away from their friends. What they want is an uprising from white America where they turn over all of those undocumented immigrants. That's why the fascist mythology of the day we rise up, the day of the rope, the storm, the uprising, those are never just the government does X. It's the white population rises up and does X. You see? It's a core part of the mythology. The whole idea is that they're inspiring this barbarity from people rather than just, imposing it via policy. That's why the Kristallnacht had to happen. That had to happen for the Nazi regime. Like that was a deliberately manufactured component of their. Yeah, all right. Yeah, okay. You have your laugh, people. You have your laugh. That was why the German government was so interested in like instigating the Night of Broken Glass, even though nothing happened in the Night of Broken Glass that they couldn't have just done with military and police. Does that make sense? Like, you look at the Kristallnacht and it's like, these businesses got broken into, these people got hurt. Well, the police could have done that if they'd wanted to. The point was, they want the average German to be doing that crap. Does that make sense? I feel like I'm making a good point here, and you're all gonna skip over it. You're gonna say, it's we could pay attention or we could be goofy goobers. And I would posit that you can be both. You can be a person who pays attention and a person who is a goofy goober. Very good point, Professor. Thank you. I'll take him as best as I can. Thank you. I'll take what I can get. Do you think Americans will ever see immigrants like Germans saw Jews? I think they're trying. I think J.D. Vance and the Republican, pundits are trying. But in reality, that wasn't the average German either, was it? No, the degree to which the average German bought into the Nazis' propaganda is often very understated. Like the idea like the average German didn't know about the camps or didn't know about the death camp. They knew. They knew. I mean, not every German citizen was totally on board, but a majority of them were enough on board that, they were selling each other out to the police. I mean, they were so eager. They were literally ratting on non-Jewish Germans because they wanted to gain favor with the SS. Like they were they were getting the SS were like a police precinct in a neighborhood full of fussy moms. We heard someone walking outside. You better go check it out. Like the people were very much complicit in the weaponization of the police state, to a large extent. What's the point, though? What's the end game? What would ejecting all the immigrants accomplish? It's fascism, dude. You think there's an end game? You kill and you deport, and you kill and you deport, and you kill and you deport, and eventually your hate movement burns itself out. Your leaders either retire in Latin America or kill themselves. People say they'll never forget. you get 40 years or so of peace, and then it all happens again. Not necessarily, but, you know,